Here we go. Midtown. I was gonna buy this game. I still might. It's on sale right
The
now.
Callisto protocol has been having a rough time, to put it lightly. The
Yeah.
spiritual successor to Dead Space, with many of those core team members on board, that released in a rough state on
Yeah, I
PC,
heard it's not
has
very
combat
good.
that's still being tweaked pretty heavily, and is now competing against Dead Space: The Dead Space.
Yeah, I
or
heard Dead Space is
23.
actually
Spiritual
really
successors
good.
can love doing the, hey, remember that? Except now, instead of purely tapping into nostalgia, it's essentially advertising a different game. I can't remember the last time I've seen something like this. But that said, I'm not going to mention the remake much, especially since this game came out before that, possibly to prevent that kind of comparison. But the original is definitely in play. Because if it wants to call back to the original trilogy as much as it does, then alright. Now, I did try to engage with it as its own thing. I played through it several times.
This is when I want to buy this and play it more so after I heard everyone talk about it in reviews and stuff. Because I heard it's bad. I would have played it more. Like, cause I did that with another game, The Last of Us Part 2. Cause I bought that. I mean, I liked the first one, which I never beat. So I plan on stream or something maybe. But I bought 2 early as I did because of the controversy. Because I was like, is it really that bad? But even though that game was more split, I know more people hated it than liked it, but I think that game was more split. This game, from what I've seen and read, I watched like a few people playing it. It seems to be more on the negative side, especially early. I don't know about the updates if they did anything recently, but like when it first came out, it was a lot of negativity. You know, like Lazarus Part 2 got a lot of negativity too, but it had a lot of people on the other side championing it, saying, "No, this game is actually really good," and stuff like that. But this game didn't really. It made the most I saw people saying like, "It's okay," you know, or it is horrible. That's pretty much what I got.
Found all the secrets, and even listened to the audio drama.
We're asking the questions around here all the time.
Hey,
So why don't
some
you shut that metal
old
squawk
chick from
voice you call a voice?
Game of
This
Thrones,
voice is from a windpipe implant I got after a shootout on Ganymede.
and she played Lucifer and the Sandman.
Wait, you had Michael Ironside and didn't put him in the actual...
Wait, that was Michael
So it
Ironside?
still has a lot to talk about on its
I
own
thought that
terms.
was his voice, but I was
Though,
like, that can't be
there
him.
is the PUBG connection to talk about, which I was not expecting. They said they got rid of that, but it's going to come up in the spoilers. That about covers all the background
PUBG
basics,
connection.
so what's this game all about? Fortunately, it's pretty simple. It's a few centuries in the future, and humanity has colonized parts of the solar system. Most of the colonies are overseen by the United Jupiter Company, or UJC. The thorn in their side is a radical terrorist
It's
group on the
always
Outer
somebody
Way, which has been
evil.
wreaking havoc. Most recently, its leader Danny Nakamura led a huge attack on the Europa colony. The population was massacred, and you got out just in time. You play as Jacob Porter Lee, a UJC cargo ship pilot who works aboard the Karen. Jacob's latest runs have been from Black Iron Prison, a former mining colony on Jupiter's moon of Callisto. This contract has been so good that soon Jacob will never have to work again. His co-pilot Max thinks it's too good to be true and that something's up, but Jacob just tells him not to think about it. They're almost done after all. Until the Karen is boarded by the Outer Way, led by Danny herself. He vents his cargo into space in a desperate attempt to eject the boarders. The terrorists are now orbital Haagen-Dazs, but the Karen was damaged in the ordeal and violently crashes down into Callisto. Jacob survives unharmed, Max can now only get work as a Ju-On cast member, and then he dies.
Yeah.
You're then treated to one of the most compassionate rescues I've seen in all of fiction.
Yeah, I saw this was crazy. Well, they are robots.
One life sign detected. Continuing search.
Captain Ferris was sent from the prison to get you out, and finds another survivor, Danny. Jacob is still reacting to this when the warden calls and orders his arrest as well. And that's our title drop.
Hey! I didn't do anything!
I thought that was weird. He just get arrested too, but I guess that's what happens when you have
Welcome to Black Iron Prison. Here's your complimentary health.
prisons on different planets. Like they're really not upholding to anyone because they don't have to really worry about checks because no one's gonna really fly out there to make sure they're doing what they're doing. You land on that planet, they were like, yeah, just throw him in jail too. And then we just report that we have this many prisoners. And they give us money. I'm sure they can send money for the prisoners that they have. Because they seem more privatized than like some government fund. I mean, well, I guess they still funded, but they're not government funded as far as they're private, but the government gives them money because they need them to store criminals. So, but like that'd be the craziest thing. That's one thing I've thought about. I mean, I'm not gonna be alive when if this even happens. In our side, that we start colonizing other planets to the point where we have prisons on like different planets. You're not gonna be able to like fly around and just check out. Like these people are gonna be governing themselves. You know, that's just it's gonna be like this. You just throw anybody in prison and just report that you have this many people, and they just pay you for how many people you have. You know?
Bar. And even though you were supposed to be here for life, you're going to be let out early. The prison is currently dealing with an unknown disease of the Tom Savini variety. So, get out of prison. Let's talk about the graphics. On a technical level, a lot of meaningless terms are thrown around like quadruple A level of production, that kind of marketing speak you'd expect to see on a Star Citizen delay post. So as a human, I'll say this game looks incredibly expensive. And what you're seeing is kind of selling it short. Besides usual YouTube compression, Callisto Protocol supports ray tracing, which can add a lot to some games, but you won't see it in this video for a few reasons. For one, I don't have the latest and greatest GPU line since the new Nvidia stuff looks like a ripoff, and turning on reflections cut my FPS in half without looking much better. As for ray traced shadows, they look horrible. It's like shimmering bugs are crawling across every surface. Even if I could run this, I wouldn't, since it looks way better without it. The light and reflections can look better than this, the shadows will just give you horrible hatching until they patch it. Callisto's a very visually detailed game, maybe the most out of anything I've played so far. Industrial environments can be so full of pipes and wires and other greebles that it gives me the same feeling of forgetting how my Factorio base works. Even the surface of Callisto can have a lot of richness and atmosphere to it, with some attention given to how you interact with the snow around you. The character models, and especially the animation in the face, may be some of the best I've seen in a game so far. Making the game look as real as possible clearly was a priority. Even besides faces, thought was given to what factors would change in animation. Are you walking or running down the stairs? Are you doing it with a weapon? Hell, if you upgrade that weapon with a grip, Jacob can change how he holds and shoots it. Sometimes. You can physically see your stored weapons, how you get caked in blood or prison Hershey's. I mean, it being so high-res is good on the fact that half the screen can sometimes be dedicated to the Jacob zone, but without a doubt they're pushing the graphics to be grounded, with some extremely impressive results at times. Every few years we get one of these games that really pushes some aspect of graphical realism forward, which overall can be a good thing for the greater game ecosystem. You know, technique and technology is pushed forward, but those games themselves... Sometimes that graphical power comes at a cost. When realism is the driving force without options, that sacrifices convenience. When Arthur Morgan moves bodies or skins animals, it looks seriously impressive. Until it gets old and you want to skip it. Even moving and playing is slower, less immediately responsive than other games. You move between stances and go at the speed a real person does. Everyone knows Red Dead Redemption was wildly successful, so the approach can work. But how does that go in an action horror game where you fight swarms of I can't believe they're not zombies? Where the act of even buying ammunition has to make sure you're immersed in the setting. When you're making a game, a human player is an endless ocean of what will they do and what will we do about it. You have fantastic games that embrace that. Then sometimes the studios die and the developers go crazy, because they spent sleepless nights wondering how many tin cans they could put in a room until someone stacks it and breaks the level. Like, Arx Fatalis can look janky, but this is a video game. Generally, gameplay that looks more realistic comes at the cost of how much control a player has over it. Callisto is on the level of you cannot play it while an audio log is running. You can only listen to it in the menu and not in gameplay. I had found a way to do it, like maybe it was unclear controls, but they patched that out. Where enemies would once swarm you, they patched their AI so they only fight you one at a time. There's more to talk about with that later, and I'm not saying the launch version was the hidden combat system no one understood. This was Glenn's intention for how he wanted you to play it. No. Fighting multiple enemies always looked weird and janky. So the post-launch changes were made to prevent that situation from happening.
Oh yeah, I think
I
heard about
more
that.
Strategy
They
and quick
patched
thinking to prevent you from being overwhelmed. But being overwhelmed looked like dying in a tumble dryer. The issue is, this approach has made the combat flawed on a fundamental level, no matter what patch version or console
I
you're
heard the
playing.
combat was
I'm
kind
sorry
of
if I've gotten too
flawed.
far ahead, it's just that hypervisual realism is a root cause of many other mechanical issues. Keep that in mind. As for art direction, this'll sound weird, so stick with me. The environment is at its best when it's embracing its main premise. It's a prison colony on another world. Like, the main cell blocks are a panopticon that goes who knows how far down. Solitary is a torture box that hangs over the abyss. You can find the handiwork of other inmates getting their hands on the guards. On the planet's surface, sometimes you can only track enemies by flashes of lightning or finding their trails in the snow. I'll say it again, there are times when the game can have excellent atmosphere. Then you have the sewer, or adjacent sewer halls, or underground shantytown. Sometimes it's a dystopian space prison, sometimes it's a vaguely industrial hall that you could pick out from any other game. I don't think I've been to space prison since the Riddick game, so it's a neat setting to see about
I was
life.
thinking
It just
about
sucks when it
Riddick,
turns generic and you get the parade of
Escape
concrete
from Butcher
pipe
Bay.
rooms. You know the ones. You've seen
I was thinking
these.
about that
A lot of the
earlier.
enemy designs are in that category too, and to make it worse, there's an extremely low variety of them.
It's actually
Something
a
little
really good
depressing is
game,
that one of the more interesting enemy designs is a head that emerges
which
from
I did
the
not
egg of a snake
expect.
and tries to murder you. Except that it's a QTE enemy, which they've placed around enough that it's annoying and you'll hate him by the end. It's also one of 2 QuickTime Event exclusive enemies, and we'll get into this game in QTEs. But it's also that this is the grabber that was cut from Dead Space 1 in 2008. It's clear people there liked Extraction, but this can't be where the ambition was at. The enemy variety being so low that an old cut Dead Space design feels like a highlight is just bizarre. Though on the mini-boss front there is the 2-headed man. I hope you like the 2-headed man. 8 heads are better than 1. You can never have enough werewolves. They did bring back the brutal elongated death animations, and those are welcome. They also
Yeah,
tone
so
down their
some of
frequency
those.
so you die in a matter-of-fact way more often, which is also good. As for music, the tension-building tracks are serviceable, nothing really memorable. It's kind of a droning loop where sometimes something sticks out, but not for too long.
Shut down.
There were some tracks I dug, like some of the combat music and the fun little uncovering the mystery theme, so it did have its moments.
Need hard rock music all the way through. I was reading that you can almost never get hit if you get the dodge down. Ooh, one more hit and you did.
When
You
it
get
comes to
the
sound
timing
design,
of the
the
dodge
environment
down.
was the winner by miles. It is so rich and layered, and machinery can be especially impressive. Sometimes you can roughly track an enemy by where it's clunking around an event. How it uses spatial sound is the best I've heard in a AAA game in a long time. Maybe that was what they meant by quadruple A.
Oh shit. Yeah, I saw that. I was reading that you could TK people while they're just alive like that. Like you just pull them and just push them. Like I know in Dead Space, you're going to TK dead things or dead. Like they technically weren't dead, but they weren't moving
The melee
anymore.
combat, which you'll be doing a lot of, also sounds good and meaty. Different story for the guns.
I did hear people like that you can transition from melee to a hand to your
As great as the environment
projectiles
is, most of the weapon and
quickly.
enemy sounds are pretty stock. I can't think of anything I found distinctive or memorable about them. I couldn't shake the feeling that the look and sound of the world was a priority and what actually inhabited it was an afterthought. Like, the sound of the vending machine stuck out to me. There was no unsettling distant enemy roar, and even the timing on some of the jump scares seemed slightly off. I mean, it's rarely subtle anyways, they love showing you the scary thing. They actually started banking on it filling your entire screen, so it's shocking they didn't do more with the environment. I guess I don't feel too bothered by a blue-collar Freddy Fazbear. If your sound technology is that good, you'd think you'd play with it more, but they rarely do. Instead, it's be in your face and loud. You can do that sometimes, it's just annoying to see such a waste of potential. Speaking of annoying, audio logs. The delivery is competent and so are the background effects. Across the whole game, nothing sounds outright bad. The worst it gets to is, that's okay.
Yeah, I heard that those are just annoying, pretty much, to people.
These are generic, which is what makes them so irritating.
Because you can't listen to
If they
them
were
while you're
amazing
playing.
or funny bad, I might not mind. But if you're forcing everyone to stop in their tracks and listen to these, then there should be something more substantial here. Going back to this game's roots, System Shock 2 has some of the best audio logs in games, and you don't have to pause for those.
Glory to the many.
I am a voice in their choir.
This kind of thing
Damn.
drives me crazy, so enough of that, let's get into the mechanics. In combat, the melee is extremely simple. So simple that people were dying because they didn't comprehend how easy it was. To dodge, you alternate between moving left and right. It's not based on what arm they're attacking with or where they're coming from, just pick left or right and then keep switching back and forth. You melee them when they're not attacking, and the cycle repeats. However, you can also block. Any blocks you see here were either an accident or I recorded them just for this video. Well, here he just QTE grabbed me, so that didn't matter. Anyways, if you block them you take some damage, but less than if they'd hit you without you blocking. There are no block-only attacks, but there are some attacks that can't be blocked. These can be avoided by dodging, where again, you take no damage. Now this seems confusing at first, but I asked one of my friends who's big into Tekken about this. Our methods were different, but we hit the same conclusion, which is why the fuck would you ever block?
Yeah.
And they will tempt you with upgrades for the stun baton, unlock the counter and sweep them off their feet.
You still take
It's
damage,
more
don't
tolerable
you?
on lower difficulties, since on maximum security you scrounge for supplies and the enemies hit like trucks. But it doesn't change the fact that no matter how high you upgrade your baton, you get the same result of taking some hits when you could have just not gotten hit. It's a survival horror game where you don't know when you're getting more health, or buying it is stupidly expensive. There's no perfect parry or perfect dodge, the screen goes slow-mo sometimes, which is neat. I'm not sure why, like maybe that was implemented at one
It's
point.
just to be
But
cool.
while you have
that's
better
it.
tools for crowd control, in certain situations, I could see the block maybe being useful in the launch version. In this one-on-one arcade brawler version, there's no reason for it. Actually, sent to a mining prison colony, ancient horror beneath it, melee combat that falls apart in a group. Is this gothic? Oh god. So now we throw guns into the mix. You can try to use your guns as guns, but this will become less and less effective on higher difficulties. They're good on tiny enemies, the grabbers and the two-headed man, but not the standard goons. Instead, your guns are mainly used as a kind of combo
Hired
feature.
goons.
It's not as cool as Gun Kata or Devil May Cry, you just sort of snap into it and do it. It's also not necessary for about the first third of the game. You can use guns to take away a ranged attack from one of the enemies, but melee upgrades are still more effective. By scavenging around the prison, you can find money or trinkets to bring to a 3D printer. From here you can upgrade your weapons, including an alt-fire at the end. You automatically get two, a pistol, and a shotgun. Though through exploration you can find other weapon schematics like a pistol and a shotgun. And a rifle, but that's not the whole story since, after all, Dead Space weapons can have pretty wild alt-fires. In Callisto, you have the hand cannons explosive rounds, the riot shotguns explosive rounds, the skunk guns homing rounds, the rifles homing rounds, and the tactical pistols burst fire, which has mule kick recoil. If you did make the mistake of buying the new weapons, you still get ammo for them. You can never store them away, and ammo will keep dropping, which is a problem when you only have 6 inventory slots, later getting up to 12. The arsenal with the alt-fires is already really uninspired and dull, but I swear someone tried to
I was
hide
thinking
it,
about
because
the
some
inventory.
upgrades are borderline scam expensive. To demonstrate how mind-bogglingly fucked the balance is, let me show you this. When I beat my new maximum security run, it opened up New Game Plus. You don't get New Game Plus rewards like extra money, or a skin, or anything, you just get to go through it again. And I did. I explored everywhere, sold everything, only tried to get upgrades. And when I got to the last printer in the game, I still didn't have every upgrade because they're just that expensive.
Damn.
I did do it halfway through a 3rd run out of pure spite, where I then learned from Steam that more people have beaten New Game Plus than unlocked all the upgrades, because you need to play it efficiently 2.5 times to have any chance.
What?
And no, the money drops based on difficulty
Stupid.
aren't going to be high enough margins to make a difference. You need to sell high-value items that are static, like from boss fights or treasures, all in service of the most premium Madagascar vanilla weapons you could have in a third-person shooter, to the point it's copying them and their secondary fire modes. then make it horribly expensive so maybe less people will know. And what really gets me is there's room for another there. The most fun thing in the game is the grip module. It's like Dead Space's Kinesis, but Sam Witwer's in the game, so they force unleash the hell out of it. You can throw objects like Kinesis, but it's more fun to just throw the whole enemy. You can juggle them around for crowd control, or chuck them into violent machinery. There are even the designated grip amusement parks where you chuck your enemies into the big machines over and over again. It is mindless, but it's fun because it's one of the few times in the game where it feels like you're fully in control. Not since Dark Messiah have there been so many convenient spike walls, and you can upgrade
Yeah,
this
Dark
too,
Messiah.
so another reason to
Oh,
avoid
it's been a
bugs.
while since I've
I
seen
love the
that
effects on
game.
it too, and it makes me sad we didn't get this creativity on something like a ranged energy weapon. Even without that, grip feels fun where melee feels tedious. The main use of ranged weapons becomes shooting the tentacles, which is simple. Eventually, when enemies take enough damage, they erupt tentacles, and if you don't shoot these or break them in time, they'll completely regenerate and become crab people. They hit harder and take more punishment, so it does push you to be faster, but they can be dodged all the same. And ultimately, the almighty grip doesn't care how many tentacles they have.
Nope. Hey,
This
stay
is
your
another
ass
example of
there.
wasted potential because when they were first showing off the game, the enemies looked pretty generic. I was hoping they were hiding more interesting designs away, so when I first saw
yeah.
this, I was pretty excited. Maybe your upgrades or your inventory or something might affect what they can mutate into. Or at least, if you didn't shoot the tentacles fast enough, they'd mutate into a new form that you'd have to change up the strategies for. Maybe one would grow some kind of weapon that you can only block and not dodge. Stuff like that. Instead, they're always the same. One character even goes,
I think those things are changing. They're evolving.
and it's like, what a great idea. Your enemies start as generic zombies, but as the game
What a
goes
great
on, they
idea
become more
that you
twisted and
didn't
alien,
implement in
and
the
you have
game.
to change up how you play. Instead, it's zombies that sprout Barilla pasta all the way through. I can't overstate enough how much the lack of variety hurts it. Even beyond the necromorphs, it's established that insane killers are on the loose. Or fight the prison guards, who can be just as bad. How about the robots? I love the robots.
Inmates, cease all hostile activity.
Damn.
These guys are great. Their heads are like giant closed-circuit television cameras. They're imposing and brutal. The game teaches you to sneak past them, and then you encounter two. And because they're introduced as being so powerful, the game lets you know to shoot them in the face. This blows my mind. It's like someone said, we introduced the security robots as being too scary and people won't want to fight them. So don't let someone make a decision or experiment. Tell them it'll be okay.
Unit immobilized.
Well, I could see them telling you how to beat them. I think people would automatically try to shoot them in the head, though.
J1 not have a united day.
You just saw all the robot fights. The others are all broken. I thought for sure one would spring to life and grab you for an easy quick-time event jump scare, but instead they're just more set dressing. And I don't know if I should be thankful for that or not. The game is already chock full of quick-time events, including the open a door variety. Also, someone really liked that one box of swarmers in Dead Space, so that can happen sometimes. They're frequent and contribute to what I hate about this game more than anything. Is that a grabber? Okay. Oh, for the love of God. Let's glide back to the Ishimura for a moment.
The fuck?
Because that game had quick-time events too. The necromorphs come in all kinds of flavors, but they share one thing visually, which is stay away. They're gross, they cut you apart or jump all over you. If you were having to mash a button, that typically meant you screwed up and one got too close. Isaac's melee doesn't look or feel powerful, it's desperate. Having control ripped away from you was alarming because you weren't used to that. Dead Space 2 had these as well, and they'd show up in some action set pieces. Again, not too often, but it introduced another way to take away control. At a few points, you might have to crawl through a vent. It wasn't often, and a good half the time something would happen, like the vent collapsing or something waiting for you. Since I played it after Callisto a while back, I decided to count it. I didn't count backtracking for something like the
You
pen
never
puzzle,
got
and to be
attacked
honest,
in the
Callisto,
vents,
I
though.
didn't count anything under 10 seconds.
You get attacked when
Now,
you get
I have
out
a
of the
local cult
vents.
in my area recruiting by putting index cards above the urinals in grocery stores. They seem pretty bonkers, like big time crazy, but thank you to the Galaxy Federation of Light for this index card. Anyhow, the final count was 7, with something scary happening 3 times. For the Callisto Protocol, a game roughly the same length, the final count was 23. Again, I wasn't counting short vents, or any wall shimmy, which I really should have been. And yes, I know it's a way to hide area loading, and when the game is this detailed, that means a lot of loading. My point is, you feel little control just holding forward, and you do that a lot. Then you dare to enter a room and get punished for it with a QuickTime event. Enter the Orb of Melee. Alternate between left and right to dodge. It's not engaging, and the fun, more clowny-looking methods seem to not be what the game wants. Not having the camera fixate on an enemy or anything else out of your hands means staying at range, which, as we've gone over, the game doesn't seem to want you to do that outside of the grip fun zones. Melee is too integral even on a visual design level. Dead Space was built entirely around keeping your enemies back. Use weapons, use powers. The necromorphs will tear you apart up close, keep them away. Callisto Protocol has a different approach.
He's like, nah, get close. Like a Dio. Well, yeah, this game, they want you to do more melee than ranged attacks.
Konani to Naskanai. Shikashi. Wasoretata. Oh, Shokushu!
Oh, shit. Okay, Home Alone 2. Who did this?
Okay, this might have been exaggerated. The point is, trying to invoke Dead Space feels completely empty. Compared to Dead Space 2, I might even say, my mom won't hate this game. It does have the Transformers guy, but I know he was in a bunch of romantic comedies too. I just don't know many Josh Duhamel movies. What has Josh Duhamel been in?
I know about 88 Josh Duhamel movies, including Transformers, Dark of the Moon, Transformers,
Oh, yeah, he was
Revenge
in-
of the Fallen, Transformers.
Okay, I
The
get
Last
it.
Night.
I could pick out homages and speculate on what is and isn't, but
I
there's
haven't
one I'm
watched
gonna
all
focus
those
on
I've
because
only
it's so
seen
strange.
the
It's
first
a section in
3.
Dead Space 3, actually. After traveling through a frozen hellscape, you come to the rusted remains of an old colony. It's deep underground, and you face off against blind, emaciated creatures. You can sneak past them, but these stealth sections are tiny, and you miss out easy loot. Killing them was a right choice, and a lot of people didn't even know this could be a stealth section. Okay, Callisto Protocol. After traveling through a frozen hellscape, you come to the rusted remains of an old colony. It's deep underground, and you face off against blind, emaciated creatures. You can sneak past them, but you've got the stealth takedown.
Look like they should have copied more Dead Space. I guess they were trying to be more their own thing at the same time. But
It's longer, but even
just
if they
didn't
find
work?
you, Sir Kick-Slot left all the spike walls around. They can't swarm you, they'll only fight one at a time. It's surreal because long ago I saw how this section could be better. They clearly went into it with the same thought in mind, making it longer, but they made it less tense because their combat options trivialize it, and fighting them without grip or stealth kills would just be tedious as they line up and take a number. This is the best example of the combat being brain dead easy or chopping down a forest in Minecraft. They added a hardcore mode recently, which I did try, but when the enemies in the tutorial were taking a dozen hits to kill and dropping between 1 and 2 Callisto funbucks, I decided I didn't want to die of tedium. That's the word. It has its moments, but overall this game
It's like it's
feels
too hard.
tedious. I can only wonder what went on behind the scenes.
Like
because
playing
something doesn't
Zolit
feel right
and,
about it. A lot of time and
Dead
talent was put into
Space.
making the death animation sick. It's too bad that being alive isn't 10% that entertaining. You know what? Let's talk about the story. As great as the world can look, it's impressive how little you know about it. It's a two-level problem. Dead Space gave you glimpses into the greater world and setting, which you didn't need, but it was expanded on more in 2. If the story you're telling is compelling enough, you don't need to explain all the lore fluff. But if you give people both, that can enhance the core experience. Or maybe the story being told isn't that interesting, but playing the game and being in the world is good enough that it doesn't matter. Even if the gameplay is terrible, a great, interesting story can push you through it. Only an interesting setting is much harder. Still, a lot of
I need
people
to
can
play
latch onto lore.
Boy, I got
So
Pathologic
imagine my
2.
surprise when Callisto conveys virtually none of it. There are no text entries, and audio logs don't say anything about the greater setting. The most you get are snippets in the character biographies. And even these are one note, they're more just to show that everyone working at Black Iron is awful. Yeah, prison staff aren't the cream of the crop. We're not breaking new
No
ground.
shit.
Some sci-fi jargon fluff can make the world seem deeper, but the story is so generic it's writing off of obvious cliches. Maybe the UJC isn't good. You know why. Because they're the company. It's hard to word, it's like, you only have things you've seen before to go off of, and all those assumptions will turn out to be true. The most interesting aspects are mainly empty, so your imagination fills them. But get this, that Helix Station audio drama I mentioned has a lot more insight into the world. The UJC have these Starship Trooper commercials, you understand more the state of Earth and how the solar system is the way it is. There are rumors of space station colonists called Gummers that had all their hair and teeth fall out, and their bodies have degraded in 0G. The main character and story have so much more going on that it looks like Lord of the Rings next to the game. It's extremely well produced with good acting and still very generic. It's listening to a high-budget alien RPG session. That feeling refreshing tells you how dire things are.
Where am I going?
If you don't want to learn the mysteries of Black Iron Prison and PUBG, go to here.
No, I don't care. I don't spoilers don't
One
bother
note
me.
also applies to the character stuff. Despite being a cargo pilot, Robert E. Lee takes well to prison very quickly. He meets another prisoner named Elias, who will serve as the guy in the chair.
Is that his
to help him
name?
get out.
Robert E.
I'm sure
Lee?
I had the same thought a lot of people did, which is, I wish you could spend more time in the regular prison before things go to shit. But that could also make you feel less lost, prolong the inevitable, and areas that could be important like the yard or the mess hall just aren't in the game. As I said before, the prison aspect feels underused, but it's also not entirely a prison. The first half of the game is get to the thing so we can get out, and precious little happens. You can also say most of Dead Space is Isaac Clarke fixing a ship, but there's some fun back and forth between the characters. Isaac is dealing with Nicole, and beyond space monsters, there's a Lovecraft element beneath it all. What is the purpose of the marker, and what are the strange whisperings? It leaves some mysteries open, but it's not banking purely on speculation. In Callisto, you're at ground zero of the virus outbreak, but with very little exploring and using your eyeballs, it's clear the prison was experimenting with the virus. So that can't be a twist, it's more where did this come from and why are they doing it? Jacob is also being haunted by visions of Max and some kind of anime cube. There's been a lot of cubes in my life recently. Anyhow, Elias explained the health bar they installed can scramble your brain a bit. Any hallucinations he's experiencing are going to be from that. Along the way, Danny is also freed, but runs off on her own agenda. There's no uneasy alliance between the three, and you're even out of contact with Elias for a good chunk. When you meet back up with him, Jacob asks what he did to be imprisoned. He says he killed in self-defense, but still admits he had responsibility for the situation.
Made a lot of bad decisions back then.
Well, you were probably just dealt the shitty hand.
No. It was just to blame everyone else. But then I realized this was on me. You can't keep running from what you've done.
Of course, they got the guy in prison who's a really good guy.
Captain Ferris is around and transforming.
There's always a prize to pay.
Just as we're getting more to Elias,
You doing Star
he
Killer?
dies.
Gotta keep going. We gotta keep going. Come on.
Of course he does. Somebody gotta die.
Look out.
The music swells, his life chokes out, and I was amazed that I felt sad. The performances are great enough to carry the moment, and it does.
You
feel
got
sad
out.
that
You
didn't
just
get to know
you
him.
just got
Considering how
outside
much
the
nothing
prison.
There was until this point. It feels like a moment from another game. We get back on track though because Danny shows up to loot him.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey.
There might be more of him though.
Damn,
We get a
she
glimpse of
cold
him
as
talking to
hell.
somebody
Like, is she
which
like, I
seems
didn't
like
know
a
this
tease for a
motherfucker.
DLC. They reluctantly team up, and Jacob tries to chastise her for ripping out Elias's implant. She explains they need it to survive, and he's been ripping out implants of people all game. Also,
Yeah,
saying
but they're
that Jacob
dead.
didn't really know him and might have just been using him because Jacob is a survivor. I don't know about that example, but that's the theme the game wants to beat you over the head with. Jacob will do whatever it takes to survive. Between more foiled escape attempts, Danny reveals why she and the Outer Way boarded his ship. She believes that he and his cargo had something to do with the attack on Europa. The UJC is actually evil, and the Outer Way are freedom fighters, because of course they are. And get this, he doesn't have what she's looking for. Maybe he did have nothing to do with it. Exploring, you find more signs of experiments, and also strange conference rooms. It seems the warden would like hanging out in these, and also will appear holographically to tell the population that what's happening is for the good of all mankind. Traveling further, deep beneath Black Iron Prison is the original
That's what
mining
they
colony
always
of
say.
Arcus. It was destroyed nearly a century ago by its own outbreak of the virus. UJC covered the whole thing up and built the prison over it. Except some research was still being done in the old colony, because this is where the virus originated from. Not from pure experiments or from the blood of a bull, but from a massive alien creature that was dwelling beneath the surface. Most of the moon is an abyssal ocean of alien terror. and I immediately wished that Jacob's suit was a diving suit, and this was completely underwater, and a different game entirely. We could have had people morphing into bizarre, deep-sea-inspired creatures, but it's just zombies all the way through. We're above a
Yeah,
sea
but
of
we
pure
did that, they
evils
would
and
have taken
unknowns,
longer
and
on the
we just get a
game,
kaiju that has
and
larger
they
than
couldn't get the
zombies.
money.
But not always.
I mean, all
In the
games are
original
about
Outbreak,
making
one of
money.
the colonists retained their intelligence and got
They could have been a
superhuman
little
strength
bit
and
more
longevity.
creative.
UJC dubbed him Subject Zero and has been trying to replicate it ever since. Well, the mutating Captain Ferris appears to be their dream
He's
come
getting
true, Subject
buff.
Alpha. Which
Okay, what
makes
is this,
everything start
Doom?
to sound more like the Anderson Resident Evil movies. Jacob escapes, but Danny is now well on her way to joining the many. Jacob wants to try and save her, even if he has no clue how, and luckily he's contacted by the doctor who installed his health bar. This is Dr. Mahler, and like most people on Jupiter's Alon school, she is full of guilt. She's burdened by the secret you discovered in the dark heart of Black Iron Prison. UJC was experimenting on the inmates. Wait, do they think that was like a twist? You've known that for hours. You might have known that before you picked up the game. We've already gone over this. How is it a reveal? Subject Zero? It's really this bland?
The next phase of human evolution.
When I first heard that,
Is
I
it?
think I felt something bursting in my chest. What year is it? Does the biophage virus let you use 100% of your brain? Mahler explains that to cure Danny, Jacob will need to inject her with a DNA sample from Subject Alpha. So now you have a good reason to go face down Starkiller. But Mahler also starts a data transfer between you and Danny's chips, so you can see more of what she knows. You travel into Danny's memories of the Europa attack, and it's revealed that the anime cube was a stand-in for the worm larva tube, and that Danny's sister died in the attack. And second reveal, Jacob knew there was definitely something fishy about the runs he and Max were doing. So the Max visions were his guilt over knowing something was up. But there's even more.
Europa wasn't a terrorist attack. They doctored the footage to cover up what they were planning to test in Black Iron.
Why are we retreading this too? We know UJC was behind it. And there's more I don't get about this, but we'll hold off a bit. Jacob is now driven to help Danny to make things right, and they discover the Illuminati Tower. There's some bizarre furniture and displays, what looks like a Greek
Bizarre
warrior slaying the
furniture.
monster beneath the surface, and golden masks, which prepares you to meet the Warden and the Evil Council.
Right on time. He approaches.
The fuck? So you just been in there the whole time? There's always some crazy religious
The Warden
zealots.
smugs about Jacob really isn't an innocent and he'll do anything to survive. It's delivered like Jacob has been ruthless, but he's mainly been falling. He didn't steal Elias's heir and everyone he fought was in self-defense, but that one guy did say wait before he got him. Is it to parallel Elias
He
or the
attacked you
decision put him in
first,
the
though.
situation, where the decision is muddy enough that he could still be in denial about it? I don't know. The Warden talks like he's been eating eyeballs and not falling and climbing. Then he explains the point of the Callisto protocol.
Protocol isn't about death.
Is that
About life.
Phil Mars' voice?
Our future lies out there. Our destiny.
This is what I mean about the lack of knowledge about the setting hurting the story. The next phase of human evolution will help humanity survive in space. Except it never clearly established that humanity isn't doing well in space. Your only insight is an alley post-terrorist attack, a cargo ship, and a prison. It was a cover-up, but a prison moon isn't a great use of resources if we're struggling. Having rundown areas in space can imply the opposite. Imagine how far technology would have to come and how mundane space would be for there to be a shanty town on Mars. I'm just assuming we're stuck in the solar system in this setting, but even that's unclear. Well, 3 did muddy it up. Dead Space made the issues of its setting way more visible, like extinct animal friend plushies or synthetic plants. This is raising the stakes when we don't know what the damn card game is. My view of Italy wouldn't be clear if I was only in prison there. After that, the Warden has you fight Ferris to prove his evolution is superior. His main purpose has also been to say that Jacob is guilty.
You trying to run from what you've done?
You fight him, he gets big, he dies, and the Warden loses his bet.
Gets big. He turns into a Resident Evil monster.
Don't do it, you asshole! Fucking loser!
What are you so worked up about?
The fuck is this?
Money on that dickhead to win.
How much did you bet?
$1 million bucks.
You think you've beaten us? Ferris was weak, an imperfect vessel.
Then why'd you have him fight him?
But in that sample is the key to unlocking a centuries-old dream.
The dream of space travel? Or something else?
Aren't you
I'm
doing
also
space
not sure why
travel?
the Warden only wants the syringe because there's a whole lot of leftover Sam Witwer over there.
Yeah,
Anyways, he
like
was a
what?
hologram the whole time, the place starts blowing up, there's only one escape pod and Jacob throws Danny on it. She has the proof to expose the UJC, and Jacob has come to terms with what he's done. Mahler said she belonged in Black Iron, and in the end, he accepts that he does too. It is one note, but it is an arc, and I can't...
Of course, there's a way out because we gotta have a sequel to this fucking game. It better not end.
Oh, cool, it's like Dead Space.
Are you serious?
Okay,
That ended like that?
The Illuminati thing opens a lot of questions. I won't waste your time speculating because PUBG. I haven't played it in a while and didn't know it had a story. Taken
I
on
never
its own,
played that
I
game.
thought the protocol was inspired by PUBG. The in-game...
Wow, did that actually end like that? Wow. That sucks. If that's how that actually ended. I don't know if he's doing that for a joke. I'm spitting. Or he's doing that for a joke, or that's how it actually ended. But that sucks. Like, I'm sorry. Like, games are not like TV or something where it ends on a cliffhanger. Like, you can't even do that with movies where it ends like on a cliffhanger. The movie has to have a definitive ending. And you can have like an after credit scene that connects to something else, but the movie has to end. She like, oh, you can get out, and then this motherfucker is still alive that you just beat. And it is like title card, and then it go and well, I guess end title card, and it like in credits. Wow. Nah, like I don't know if I want to buy this game. Like I said, it's on sale right now. I don't know. Maybe I'll wait a little bit longer because I wanted to play Marvel's Avenger, and it's on sale right now too for like, I think it's like $7.99 or something. I thought about getting it because it's just playing like because I don't want to play online with anybody anyway, but just playing like the solo. I mean the single player mode, campaign mode, but I don't know this. But I think this is on sale for like $20, something like that. But man, that ending sucks.
Protocol. They had tried for years to recreate Subject-Zero and couldn't, so the new Warden Cole had a radical idea. Evolution won't happen in the lab, it'll happen in the wild. The environment being too controlled must be the flaw. The Europa attack was an outbreak of a diluted, airborne version of the virus. It killed but didn't turn people into creatures, or create meat moss, or all the eggs, or... well, who knows how the virus works, and it doesn't matter. Even though a lot of people died and no alpha was produced, along with anything of value, this inspired the Warden. So he turned his prison into a Fortnite map. All the cells were opened, the robots were ordered to kill any humans, and the virus released. This executive order was the Callisto Protocol. And it worked. He got his alpha, even though it died to a normal man. On its own, a battle royale doesn't determine who's the smartest or strongest. There are all kinds of outside factors. Ferris may have lost, but this leading to a new competing race of people could be interesting.
Wasn't they have weapons?
Centuries-old question. At first I thought purely the setup was a homage to PUBG, like, oh, it's a secret battle royale. Then I spent 3 whole minutes on the story page. To win the battleground is to be Vir Solidarius, the lone survivor. Hang on. They changed a letter around, but centuries-old Cabal, what is that? Oh, this is like Project Snowblind, where it couldn't be Deus Ex at the last second. It's still basically a PUBG tie-in with minimum effort to scrub it out. That's why these lofty talks about space colonization make no sense, and why there's very little mention of any lore of the greater setting. Apparently in PUBG's future, the Earth is very degraded and death games are legal. They may have built a setting extended out from that, and then scrapped it. That explains why you're told so little about the setting and why things don't add up. The Warden's original plan may have been, these Sam Witwers will look real fucking cool in the arena. But you know what? That would at least have everything add up. It doesn't mean the game was amazing at one point, but the hollowness of the world makes so much sense now. I can't believe it's not PUBG. I was not expecting this. Oh, it's a scary lullaby.
It's like PUBG.
It really is painful because in a perfect world, this would be the debut of a great new sci-fi horror franchise. But instead I played a game that doesn't seem to know what it wants to be. There is some fun to be had with stuff like the grip, but melee is the core. A core that's still being tweaked that has the depth of the cha-cha slide and not half that fun. The story is barren and one note and keeps trying to remind you of a different game. If this wants to succeed, it has to get weird and off the range. it can't keep invoking Dead Space. The remake has already won that war, even if parts of it were more sanitized. They have elements in the game that they could do interesting things with, it's just a question of whether they will. Between that and figuring out combat, it's gonna be a rough road. Obviously,
How did a robot
right now
lose
I
his
don't recommend the
arms?
Callisto protocol, especially not at full price. I'll keep an eye on it though. I'll play their new story edition later. For now though,
Are they
you can
doing a new
just play
story
the original
edition?
Dead Space again. Any Dead Space game actually. Even 3. That has co-op and
Damn.
Crompton comes back from 2. Dead Space Mobile's not too shabby. Can always try that.
He said 3.
This one's not ready.
He said you could play even Dead Space 3, the most hated one of them all. He play that instead. At least he said it has a co-op, which a lot of people didn't like. I didn't mind the co-op in Dead Space 3 because I played that with my brother, and I didn't mind it. It was fine, and I don't usually like co-op, so, but that was fun because I think we was playing that around the same time I was playing. What was that, Army of Two? Remember, maybe because we played that like way after that game had come out. I don't remember exactly when the game. I remember playing that actually before Army of Two. If I'm not mistaken, we got that, and then we got that Army of Two Cartel. Once we beat that, and then I think like a year or so later, we ended up. He was like, "You want to play the second game?" Because the games had been out like for a while at that point. Then I was like, "Yeah," and I bought it, and he played. We never even beat that. We beat the first one, but didn't beat the second one. I don't even think I have. I might have those. I might have traded them. But yeah, that's pretty much all I saw and heard about Callisto Protocol. I keep wanting to say Dead Space. I almost said Dead Space. But which is funny because now the remake of Dead Space 1, which I never beat the original. Like, horror games, I have a really hard time with. Like, I have a hard time. Like, I want to play Aliens Isolation, and I watched a few people play that, and not all the way through, and I'm just like, you can't kill the alien. I know that, but you can like chase it off basically like with a flamethrower when you get it. Other than that, it's just like a stealth game. I'm just like, oh, it's just so nerve wracking. And like I had a problem when I played Dying Light 1. It's because in that game you have like day night transitions, and at night you have super zombies come out, what they call volatiles. The volatiles are like much faster and much stronger than the regular zombies, and they can climb. They can't climb as good as you. They can run faster than you, but they can't climb as good as you. So you're encouraged to like climb over stuff, like vault and jump and climb on buildings and stuff to break the chase from them if you out at night. When I first played that game, I could not go out at night. Like I had, because when it transitions to night, it's this like loud scream, and it startled the fuck out of me, like playing the game. So I was like, it was a loud scream. I was like, what the fuck was that? And it was like, oh, it's nighttime, and I was like, oh god. And I literally didn't didn't go out at night at all until I absolutely had to. Where it was like, okay, because clearly I knew they were gonna have missions that where you had to go out at night, and I was like, fuck. And I actually stopped playing the game for like, I don't know, it was a little while. I don't remember, like a couple weeks or something like that. Because I was like, I couldn't do it, but I enjoyed playing that game so much. I was like, I can do this. So what I did was I started playing and I started looting, which a lot of the gameplay A lot of my playtime in that game is me looting. Like I would play that game and just spend like 8 hours just looting stuff. And then I get so powerful that I didn't care. Like I mean, well at that point I wasn't that powerful. I still got my ass kicked by those things. But um I did. I think I upgraded where I didn't upgrade the stamina to the max, but it was like I think it was like the third or the second, maybe. It might have been the second level where you can run a little bit faster without your stamina uh, depletes like slower until you unlock like the last one. Your stamina doesn't even deplete at all. You can just run like forever without your stamina running out. You basically become Captain America. But then I wasn't like that, and I was like so scared like going through that because I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was the you had to get the light bulbs on the bridge because they had the UV lights or something, or it was like the lights had went out at the base camp, and you need to go get those, but you can only get them at night for some reason. And that bridge is always packed. So it's like you going over there, and then you over there at night, and it's volatiles over there. It's like, oh. But once you get in there, you got to get past them and get up into the tower. You good? Yeah, you just you get up there, get across, and then I was like, well, how? And you like zip line to the other side of the bridge. I was like, how are volatiles over here? That don't even make sense. It's just like the part of the bridge has been broken off. How are there volatiles over here? And I was like, man, maybe because they can't jump that far. But yeah, that was playing a game like that was like so raw. And I just recently bought Dying Light 2 because I plan on start streaming soon. I keep talking about it. I've been talking about it for years. And like need to start fucking doing it. Either streaming or recording. Because I was recording myself. Recording like gameplays. But I think I can stream and then just record the gameplays. Like stream on Twitch and then record them and then put those on YouTube. Or maybe stream on both at the same time. And then still put the recording on YouTube. But yeah, but then when I started getting more powerful, because in the following, you can go clear out nest of volatiles. And I got so powerful, I could just do that by myself. Because I played the game, so I think I beat that game like 6 times. And I had like so much, I was helping other people beat it. And I had like so much power, so many powerful weapons. I was like, I could just go through it. I was just literally going through the nest, just running through there, just killing them and clearing out the nest by myself. You know, it's like they weren't scary anymore. I mean, now they in large numbers they can still kick your ass. So, and then also in they did an update on Dying Light and the following Dying Light the following, where they upgraded the difficulty. So, like the easy mode, or I guess not. Well, they did have easy, but like normal is harder than it used to be. So, and then I put it on hard on one playthrough. Like I was playing through, and I was like, shit. I feel like I did when I first played the game, because it took so many hits to kill regular zombies. Well, not necessarily regular zombies, but the zombies were like military, and they had like military bulletproof vests on. Those are hard to hit, but you hit them in the head, you can kill them pretty. You can still kill them pretty quickly, depending on the weapon you have. Right. I put that on like the hardest difficulty, and I was like, fuck, this is. Like it's been a while since I played when I first played the game on normal, because I didn't have anything. and then I didn't have any upgrades. But now I got upgraded everything. But then they added new upgrades to like a new, not a new tree, but like another thing that you can use to upgrade, and it upgrades you even further. And I started trying to upgrade that, and, but I was like, man, these things are. And then I put it back on normal because you can switch the difficulty in game. And I was like, damn, these things are still tough. I mean, they're not quite as tough. I was like, fuck. And I said, well, I'm put it back on hard. I was playing, but then I don't even know if I still have that. But yeah, maybe I'll get Callisto Protocol and play through it. I don't know. Because I'm the type of person I like to play the game. Like I listen to people, but I still like to be my own judge and play it. It's like a movie or a TV show. Like it could have bad reviews, or like it split its fan base. But I would prefer to play it myself than to be my own judge of it. You know, even though I'm like, fuck, why'd I spend money on that? Or I mean, if it's on TV, but I mean, if I'm subscribed to a streaming service, it's just on them already. I'm paying regardless. Not like I'm paying more, like Amazon, where you still you pay for that, but then there's things on there. Well, this you gotta rent or buy. You still paying a subscription fee, but these you gotta rent or buy. It's like, I mean, it does give you more access to more things that they maybe couldn't work out a deal with the owners. You know, talking about humidifier might have went off. But I was like, I don't want to pay for. I'm already paying for the subscription. I gotta pay for to rent or buy this. And then if I buy it, like if I don't keep Amazon Prime, I can't look at it. And at least I think, I don't know. I'm not sure. I had to look that up. If you buy a movie on Amazon and then you discontinue Amazon Prime, can you still watch that movie? Like, I don't know about that because you did buy it. Like I said, Netflix is one thing because you don't buy stuff, or rent stuff. Everything is on Netflix. As long as you subscribe, you can look at everything. But if you can buy or rent stuff on Amazon, but you need Amazon Prime to look at the stuff. Like if you discontinue Amazon Prime, can you still look at it if you already bought it? I imagine you should be able to, but I'm not sure. But I haven't bought anything on, like any movies or anything on Amazon Prime, so I don't know. But anyway, hope you enjoyed my reaction. Well, if you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see you next time. Peace.